Welcome to Beyond the Forecast. We've got Dawn with us today. How you doing, Dawn?
Good. It's I can't say it's a nice Wednesday, but it's a nice cool Wednesday. We'll put it that way.
A little bit dreary out
Yeah,
there.
and the forecast will be improving. We'll start to see a little bit of sunshine coming up tomorrow, so we'll get better.
Yeah, that's always good. But we did need the rain.
Yes, and
So
it was
it's good.
and it's always good when you get a nice gentle rain that soaks in, and instead of getting a real fast, rapid rain where you get just everything runs right into the storm sewers. Very beneficial rain.
Yeah. So it's good that we're getting it. We have pretty much everybody in abnormally dry conditions right now.
Yeah.
So this should, it's not a lot that we're seeing, but any little bit helps.
Yeah, and really, kind of, it is enough to help. I don't know how much we've had, under a tenth of an inch, or close to a tenth of an inch, but it has soaked in. So that's the good news there. Everything's already turning green, even though it's cold.
Yeah. A little chilly.
Yeah, it is. Chilly.
I know a lot of people like it, though. They like the fall weather. So
Yeah, I kind of
that's
like
here.
it too. I
Yeah.
kind of like it too. And think about it. And I don't know if it's just for guys that this happens or for girls too. When all of a sudden it's very chilly, you need to get out a long sleeve shirt from last year that it's been in the drawer, a drawer for 6-8 months. So you pull it out and it's musty smelling, but you put it on anyway.
Yeah.
So
That's where you got to get the little sprays, like to freshen up your clothes.
yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
about those. I just walk around smelling a little bit nasty.
I usually do like the stuff that you spray to get the wrinkles out of your clothes.
Yeah.
That usually has like a nice clean smell to
Yeah,
it.
or-
So then I'll do that.
Or throw them in the dryer with some dryer sheets or something.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Anyway,
That works.
so
All right. So you did some research on some
Yes.
climate stuff in this area.
yeah, and we've been through some unusually cool weather. Obviously, over the past month and a half, really.
Yeah.
Almost. Very, very much cooler than usual. So I want to show you what's going on with some of that. Here's some statistics for you in terms of what we end up with. The high temperatures over the last couple of weeks look like this. They're basically mostly below average. We had, of course, last week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, well above average. Then there was a 95-degree day on Saturday. It looked 20 degrees colder for the day on Sunday. Of course, Tuesday was 74 degrees, and of course, today it's probably not that much better. It'll likely be in the mid-70s for the day on Wednesday. It'll start to warm up a little bit more for tomorrow. But the thing about it is, that's only the past couple of weeks. When we look at August temperatures, they were very, very much cooler than normal. The thing about it was it wasn't the coldest that we've ever seen. It wasn't even in the top 10 for coolest, but it was still the coolest August that we've seen since 1996.
Oh, that was the year I was born.
Yeah.
He's like, no comment on that one.
I've got shoes that are older than you. No, not shoes, but probably some clothes. Anyway, a look at what's going on with these temperatures. We didn't make the top 10 for coldest, and we didn't make the top 10 for warmest either. Now, the thing about it is, with all this cool weather, people are kind of scratching their heads and kind of going, and what's all this with this global climate change? What happened to global warming? Well, here's one thing to note from this list of the top 10 warmest August since 1871. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those Augusts have been since the year 2000. You'll note that on the top it said average from all August since 1871. So one would think that since 1871, there would be kind of an even distribution. That's what, 150 years, basically. You would think that there would be an even distribution, a little from, such and such decade, one from such and such decade. But instead, we have a concentration of 4 of them, and it's quite common in the months of the year. Now, that's one thing to note. Another thing, a while back, I noted that we just aren't seeing any record low temperatures anymore. So it led me to start diving through some statistics. And what we've got here is the number of record lows and record highs per decade. You'll note that by the end, we'd only get through the 2010s. We're only halfway through the 2020s. We can't use a representative figure there as a decade. It's only half a decade. But you note it's very, very much higher. For example, in terms of record highs, we've got 62 in the 2010s for record highs, but only 8 for record lows. So I was right in assuming just assuming that there weren't any record lows. Don't seem to be that many record lows anymore.
I mean, since the 2000s, it looks like since starting in 2000, you just really haven't had that many record lows that have popped up. But yeah, the 2010s is dramatic with how many record highs.
Yeah, from the 1960s, jumps to the 1970s, a little bit of a jump there. And then it stays fairly flat through the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s, but then a significant jump once we hit the 2010s. Now, you'll note that there are other things on here, and I want to show you one. There's a little bit of a bump up from the 1930s through the 1950s. What up with that? Well, that was actually caused by a man-made, human-caused climate change. And the Dust Bowl was caused by humans. Beginning in the late 1800s, ancient buffalo grass was plowed under. Now, buffalo grass had roots going down like 6-8 feet. So it took a great deal of plowing to get rid of that buffalo
There's some
grass.
Deep roots.
Yes, but it gave way to millions of acres of wheat, and only wheat. The thing about it was, at the time, in the late 1800s, 1890s, and early 1900s, Russia was going through famine because of crop failures. And so we were exporting at that time a great deal of wheat to Russia, and that was pre-revolutionary Russia, Tsarist Russia. Well, after decades of only wheat, the soil was depleted. And I think we've understood that. But once the minerals, et cetera, get depleted from that, so crop failures, and it became unable to support vegetation. And the resulting lack of soil moisture plus changes in the Earth's reflectivity, what in meteorology we call albedo, and that led to a human-induced climate change. And that was the Dust Bowl. The dry line, for example, there's something we call the dry line, which is kind of a unique thing for the United States, and it helps to create the Hurricane Alley for Texas and Oklahoma. That was changed by that. So we ended up with crop failures all throughout the Midwest and the upper Midwest and Oklahoma. Again, just really, really dry conditions, even dust storms in Washington, D.C. So what was the solution to this climate change event, this human-induced climate change event? Well, it was kind of strange. A scientist hired by the FDR administration, the Roosevelt administration, figured it out, how we could do it, figured out what was going on and how we could change this. And he was basically a poultry scientist, which is kind of weird.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but he figured it out for the rest of farming. Contour plowing, in other words, if you have a hill, you don't just put straight lines in the hill. You contour around the hill that saves moisture. So when water runs down the hill, it gathers in these contours. Crop rotation, so you don't deplete soil. So you'd plant corn one year, soybeans the next year, whatever. Strip farming, so you'd plant a strip of one crop and then another strip of another crop. Say maybe 150 yards wide of one crop and then 50 yards wide of another crop. Fallow fields, in other words, it was called soil bank. The government would pay you not to farm, which was...
Oh, that's enticing.
Yeah, they would pay you, but only up to a certain limit,
right.
Because they wanted the soil to regenerate nutrients and become fertile again. Shelter belts. Shelter belts were basically lines of trees in between fields. You think of the Great Plains, and it's just flat, no trees. And so the wind would pick up the soil and move it, and again, it would result in problems with that, obviously, and terracing, which is much like contour plowing.
So I find this very interesting because my grandpa, he's a farmer, and And so I knew about he always told me when I was growing up and I would spend my summers there, he's like, you have to rotate. He does corn and soybeans. So he would always flip the fields every year. But I didn't know that is where it started from, that they had learned with the Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
That's kind of an issue that happens. And then to keep the soil good and new, you have to do that rotation and these other interesting things.
Yeah, well, and I remember my grandfather was a farmer in the same part of the world, actually, and he resented the idea of soil banks getting paid by the, because it was just, it just seemed, no, why are you paying me to do nothing? Well,
Right.
you wanted to keep those fields fallow, not producing crops, so they would regenerate moisture and nutrients in the soil. So,
okay.
So it was like against everything he believed in terms of farming.
Yeah.
Being productive, leaving a field fallow.
Right. It was like unheard of.
Yeah, it was called soil bank.
Yeah.
And he hated the idea of it. So
Oh, I could see that. All right. I know that you have a couple more things, but we need to take a quick break and then we'll talk about this other mystery side of the cool.
it got cool for a while. Let's
Yeah.
replicate that.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk about it in just a second. All right. So we just talked about that little warm bump, and now we've got a cool trend that you also noticed.
Yeah, and I noticed this. Look at all those these record lows on the left between the 1950s on. In fact, we'll set this into motion again here. I'll show you. Just pardon me. I'm messing around on the laptop here. Let's click it. Come on, click. Boom. There we go. And this particular area, what was going on here? That we're seeing really high temperatures, fewer record high temperatures, and in addition, all kinds of record low temperatures. Well, what was going on? Coal caused the cool down. Coal smoke scatters and reflects sunlight, thus preventing some of that sunlight from heating the earth. Well, that sounds great. Let's burn more coal. That will get rid of climate change. It'll reflect more sunlight out. The problem with it is, excuse me, that there's sulfur with that, and that sulfur created big problems. Sulfur combines chemically with water to create sulfuric acid, and there's a problem with acid rain.
Ooh, yeah,
so
you don't want that.
you don't want that, and so in lakes and rivers, especially lakes downstream of coal plants, from the predominant winds of coal plants, you would see lakes dying off, plants and animals within lakes dying off. And the thing about it, too, is not only was there acid rain killing wildlife and killing the earth, the lakes, whatever, it was a huge spike in respiratory problems, of course, because of the coal. So you didn't want that either.
Nope.
So the solution for that, scrubbers on the coal smokestacks to filter out the sulfur, and plus they switched to a lower sulfur, a higher grade of coal. So there was less sulfur in the coal, and plus now, I keep hitting the mic, sorry. And now coal is really being phased out to a great deal. And I noted that it was either 50.6% or 50.4%, slightly over 50% of electricity now, electricity generation, is now generated by renewables. So it's solar and wind power are now generating slightly over half of what we're seeing on the grid as far as electricity. So there's good news there.
Yeah.
So that was the solution there for that particular situation. Now, there we are. The end of my presentation. That's what we've got going on. What do we do, with the 2010s and the 2020s? We need, obviously, to start doing things at a greater pace, dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, the 2010s doubled with ththose record highs, which is just crazy.
Yeah, almost doubled with the record highs. It'd be 72 if it were exactly double, but still, at the record lows, they just disappeared. And that's what led me down the rabbit hole. And this is for Norfolk, the Weather Service office in Norfolk, which has been in existence since 1871. So, again, we've got these records going all the way back to then, 150 years, basically.
That's a good data set to work with.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it is very interesting that we've seen kind of those bumps and trends that have gone like that. But even on those record lows, when we were seeing some of those, like the 60s had the most of 47, that's still not comparable to the warmth that we're seeing in the 2010s.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said, well, we've seen the Earth warm up before. The thing about it is the Earth warming up before happened over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It happened over eons. This is happening in just a few decades.
Yeah, happening rapidly, and like you were pointing out, a lot of the stuff has happened based off of what humans have done.
Yes.
And that's affected the atmosphere. So we do have kind of those ebbs and flows naturally of climate change, but it's been exacerbated with humans that have been doing different
things. And accelerated, really accelerated.
Yeah, really accelerating on that. So yeah, that's very interesting.
And one other thing to note too, and I don't have graphics for it. Remember the ozone hole?
Yep.
What happened with that? There was this great big thing about the ozone hole. Oh, we gotta do this, gotta do that. Well, it's been largely fixed because it was caused by something called chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, and chlorofluorocarbons were in aerosol hairsprays, hairsprays or whatever, any kind of aerosol can had CFCs in it as a propellant. Also, air conditioning systems had CFCs, and they had since the 1940s. Well, this stuff, the CFCs were going up into the atmosphere and eroding the ozone layer. Well, especially near the poles, near the South Pole especially. And what happened is that all the governments of the world got together and basically banned CFCs. So that ozone hole is indeed repairing itself. So, yes, that man-made climate change has been healed to a great extent.
Yeah, and I think during the couple of years that everything was shut down with COVID, they noticed that it was fixing itself a little bit more quickly, rapidly, because you didn't have all the cars out there, you didn't have all of this other stuff, and the pollution and smog and everything going on. So, yeah.
Okay, that's my little presentation.
It was good. I learned a lot of things on there. I'm
Okay,
glad that you
good.
did a nice little deep dive. I thought it was really cool. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew obviously humans have impacted it, but going through the decades of what has happened that has caused that was really interesting.
Well, it's there in that graphic that you're seeing. Which side of it? Yeah, there, that graphic that you're seeing right there. You can say, something's going on here, and it's not good. So we got to fix it. We got to take action.
Yeah, absolutely. Very clear picture we are seeing right there. All right. Well, I think we'll take another quick break. When we come back, we can talk some more about some local forecasts. It's a peak of the hurricane season as well.
Yay! Lots of hurricane stuff out there. No.
Yeah, pretty quiet, which is good. We don't want to see a whole lot, so I'm glad that it is quiet right now, but we are right in the middle of that. So we'll talk about that, some of the local forecasts here coming up in just a All right, welcome back. So we are peak of hurricane season today.
Yes. Today is the statistical peak of the hurricane season. If you average on all of the years, it ends up being the statistical peak. One thing that I learned yesterday, actually,
New fact.
is that when you look at this graphic, and you look at what goes on with this graphic, you'll note everything rises very, very rapidly once you get to August 15th. Real rapid rise. And then you look to the right of that line, the statistical peak, which is today, there's much more red.
Yeah.
And there's much more of a gradual slowdown. So when you add it all up, 60% of the hurricanes happen from September 10th on. So if you're thinking, oh, yeah, we're at the halfway point, well, we're kind of at the 40%
Yeah.
point because it slows down much more gradually. It speeds up pretty rapidly, but then it slows down much more rapidly. And you think back to last year, and they didn't hit us, but Hurricane Helene was in September. It was after September 10th. Hurricane Milton, which was a Category 5 for a time, that hit Florida pretty badly. That was after September 10th, and Helene was just horrendous, obviously. So.
And we were talking about that on the show just the other day. I think it was yesterday, maybe Monday. But we were talking about how, we'll pull up the graphic here too, the sea surface temperatures here. I mean, it's very warm. We haven't had a storm run through that or really do anything. So there's a lot of fuel to work with if something is to form later on in this season.
And that's where they form too.
Right.
This late in the season is usually off the southeast coast and over the Gulf and Caribbean. So.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of that energy, that moisture that it needs, that fuel to really grow into something that could be destructive. But right now, fortunately, we don't have anything in the Atlantic, so that's good. It's quiet. But like you said, I mean, we've got a ways to go yet with this season. We're on what? G is the next name.
Yeah, Gabrielle.
Yeah. Gabrielle is our next thing that's on the list. So we haven't made it too far through our hurricane list just yet.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is this late in the season, it seems it's cool out, and so far this cool air, the weather pattern that creates this cool air has been blocking everything, keeping it on away. So we've had several systems that have been way out off of the Atlantic. Aaron, was way off into the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And produced a lot of surf, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And was great for the East Coast Surfing Championships.
Right.
Biggest year ever, I think, for them. But it's blocking everything, keeping everything away. And it's part of the weather pattern that's keeping things quiet for now.
Right, yeah. And we were talking also looking at that Saharan dust, how there's just been a lot of that that's kind of been blocking some of that formation as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of out there. So, yeah, we'll see what happens for this next past the peak of hurricane season for us. We've got just about a minute and a half left, so let's talk real quick about some of the local forecasts that we've got. It's for the Eastern Shore. We've got those pesky scattered rain showers around for the rest of today, kind of into tonight. Could see a little bit of lingering activity, it looks like, as we head into tomorrow morning, and then we'll start to see finally that sunshine. Yeah, we'll start to see some of that later. We're looking at those high temperatures that are going to be sitting right around those mid to the upper 70s. Then as we move through the peninsulas, we are looking at pretty much the same thing there. So we'll be seeing some more of those scattered showers for the rest of today into the early morning, and then drying out, seeing that sunshine. Friday looking pretty decent as well. Still seeing those high temperatures that will be in those upper 70s. So a couple degrees warmer out there. Not too bad. Still pretty nice. And we move into south side. We will be seeing, again, more of those scattered showers clearing out towards the morning hours, seeing that sunshine later in the day.
And the tides should be subsiding too.
Yeah, so we do have still minor, I looked at the forecast, minor tidal flooding around noon on Thursday, but after that, I think it looks pretty decent for us, so not too bad. So that's good because, I mean, it's going to be the same levels that we've been dealing with, so it hasn't been too impactful for too many people.
The biggest tide was Wednesday noon. That was around 5 feet. It should drop on down a little bit each day now.
Yep. And then we'll see, again, similar conditions across northeastern North Carolina. I think it could linger a little bit longer into the afternoon for inland there. All right, that is our buzzer. We're out of time. Thanks for being on the show with us today, Dawn. Had a blast. We'll see you tomorrow.